Hello, my spooky friends, and welcome to the warm-up to Halloween with your host, Mr. Dead Cold, with special guest, Mr. Justin Cowell, the Paranormal Monk. How are we doing, folks? Happy Halloween weekend. If everybody's sitting comfortably, can they just give me a bit of a notification that this stream is actually working? I always say this, but I've had so much bad stuff with streams. I just get so paranoid that it ain't actually working properly. So if anybody's in the chat there, give me a hell yeah, please. Hello, everyone. Hi, Mark. Everything good? All good, then? We're all good. Fantastic. Right, let's just have a look. Let's have a bit of a roll call first. Lisa Horton is in. Great stuff, Lisa. Thanks very much for coming. Brian Yates. That is Brian Yates from New England in the US of A. He is here. John Paul. The Mad Wecker. Haley. Rick and Havoc. John Boy Patton. Mrs. Bob the Beard. I love that tag. Mrs. Bob the Beard. Jan W. Where else? Halloween. I tell you what, mate. You've got the name for the season, that's for sure. Well, if I've missed anyone, Darkvale Brewer Tim, nice to see you, mate. Nice to see you. Kay Evans, Alison from Haunted Derbyshire, fantastic. Where are we at? Going back further up. Chris Williams, nice to see you. And that is about it. Yeah, we are fighting. I know when I started doing this, when I set this thing up, I didn't realize at the time we were going to be fighting with the Rugby World Cup final. But I'm under strict instructions from Justin that we are going to actually beat their viewers. So we can take some of their viewers from them and put them into this live stream. That'd be fantastic. Exactly. Blame Beto indeed. Where's that fella at anyway? He's probably watching the bloody rugby as well. Joe, Rodeo Joe, nice to see you, love. Hi, Mark from Kentucky. Nice to see you, Joe. I tell you what, Joe has been a very long-term subscriber of mine. She was probably I would say, Joe, were you here maybe 10 or 20 subscribers in? You were very early, that's for sure. You were definitely on my first ever live stream, and you actually won my first ever giveaway. And I hope you still got that mug. Gillian Daniels, nice to see you, love. Right, well, tell you what, I'm going to explain what's going on tonight. I'm going to bring on a certain chap that I've been wanting to talk to for quite some time. His name is Justin Cowell, and he used to be part of Paranormal Truth. Obviously, what happened there is something that should be lost in history, which is always a shame. But, things happen, things change for the sometimes, and I think for the better, sometimes anyway. So I have got Justin in the green room. He's just waiting to come on there. But yes, Rory, Joe, yeah, definitely. I think I'm sure you were. I'm sure you were definitely. She's saying she thinks so, but definitely, I'm pretty sure you were. But yeah, so we're going to have a bit of fun tonight. As you can see by my cupboard, I've decorated it for the night. Strange things hanging around everywhere. Glowing skulls, big spiders, and Justin Cowell in the green room. What more do you want for Halloween, for God's sakes? I hope you like my little intro there as well. Massive thanks to the YouTuber that provides that free stuff. I forget his name. I've been following him for years, but all of a sudden I've just forgot his bloody name. But yeah, he does a lot of free stuff on YouTube, and he does some fantastic stuff as well. And I'll put his details, his YouTube channel in the description after this is finished, because he does some fantastic stuff, along with White Bat audio as well. Which just reminds me, let's do that. Bit of background music as well, courtesy of White Bat audio. Right, so I'm going to bring in Justin, and first of all, I'll tell you that there's a bit of an itinerary for tonight. We're going to talk about his how it all started for him, and then we're going to talk about his personal experiences, because I know, and if you look at his bio on his Twitter handle, it says that he lived with a poltergeist as a child. So I want to ask him about that, and also as well, I want to ask him about where it went on from there, and then obviously we'll have a bit of Paranormal Truth as well, with their favourite, or Justin's favourite locations that he went to, and we're not going to escape East Drive as well, that's for sure, because that's definitely getting talked about. Because the things that Justin witnessed at East Drive would probably make your toes curl, that's for sure. Just so I'm going to ask you, folks, is that music okay, or is it a bit too loud, or is it a bit too quiet? Let me know. Yeah, and we'll go on from there. Really, I'm going to talk about Justin's new podcast as well. He's got a podcast starting a week on Monday. The details of that are in this description as well. Called the Paranormal Monkey. The Paranormal Monkey podcast. So go on YouTube, type in those words, and it will take you to his YouTube channel. And please hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell as well. And I'm sure you'll be very, very grateful. So yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about it anyway. So we'll get Justin on, and then we'll take it from there, folks. Bit distracting for me personally. Right, hang on a sec. Let's just adjust this music volume. Right, it's on volume 2, which is probably one of the lowest settings ever. Right, it's on 1 now. There we go. Learn something new every day. Right, there we go. How are you doing, Justin? Oh, hang on. Hang on a sec, mate. Hang on a sec.
There you go. We all got. Oh, there we are.
There we go.
I think we have volume.
Well,
hope you're well, everybody. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween indeed.
Yeah.
What does the Justin Cowell brood do for Halloween?
Thankfully, not much anymore. It used to be nearly every year. We would normally be going to some kind of location and doing an 8-hour live stream until 5 a.m. quite often. So it's just so nice not to have to worry about that, to be honest. It's just, but yeah, I mean, my kids are grown up now, but I used to quite happily, get a fire going and tell ghost stories, and yeah, it was always one of those kinds of things that I used to love doing. But yeah, they've grown up and got their own place and stuff now, so I don't need to have to worry about that.
Fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to start this off, Justin. You probably heard there's Ryan. Ryan is in the house as well. I always like to see Ryan there. Ryan knows Justin as well, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, we chatted. I think in a few years back, actually, we had another podcast when it was me and Dale doing Paranormal Truth and called Superneutral, and spoke to Ryan and Amy on that. So yeah, I've always been following Ryan and Amy. So if you, like I say, it's another great couple who go out investigating. Well worth checking out. Ryan and Amy Bradway's YouTube channel. Really, really great guys.
Amy and Ryan's Weird Adventures. Go and check it out, folks, because it is fantastic, and they are a fantastic couple. Right. In your bio, Justin, I don't mean we're getting into their brass tacks straight away.
Yeah.
In your bio, it says that that you, as a child, had a lot of poltergeist experiences, or lived with a poltergeist. I think you actually say in your bio.
Yeah, well, I mean, the actual poltergeist thing, really very, very typical of poltergeist cases, didn't actually last that long. It was only 6 weeks.
Yeah.
In 1984, but I was 7 years old, for those who want to work it out. So it was a long time ago. But I was just old enough to kind of, and I still remember certain things. But those things that kind of stayed with me are kind of comments and feelings and the temperature of the room, temperature of certain rooms and things like that. But a lot of it was kept from me. I'm the eldest of 3 brothers. My mum and dad really didn't tell me an awful lot about the full extent of what was going on. Shielded us from it, to be honest. And it's only as I got older and kind of trying to kind of scratch away at what exactly was the truth of everything. I had I've now know probably near enough the full extent of what happened. So essentially, we moved property and we moved house in November of 1984.
Yeah.
The house that we moved to used to be a shop opposite a boot and shoe factory. Where I come from in the country, it was famous for making boots and shoes. Yeah. So there was a factory opposite, and the shop catered for the workers. And then eventually the shop was no more. It was 2 homes, detached building, but it was 2 homes, and then became 1. And it was built in 1899. So in November of 1984, my brothers and my family obviously moved to this property. And on day 1, my mum was really, really not happy about the place. You think that she'd be dead excited, but it had a really foreboding atmosphere. Yeah. She did not like certain parts of the house straight away, and although she got the heating going and she would try and warm it through, every room was warm except for my bedroom. My bedroom remained cold, freezing cold, to the extent that when my mum would go into my room, she could see her breath in the air.
Yeah.
Absolutely, from Northamptonshire, absolutely. And so she had a really uneasy feeling. Couldn't pinpoint it, but was kind of worried for us. And so that very first night, my mum made sure that we didn't even sleep in our own bedrooms. We all slept in the one room, which is a bit unusual.
Wow.
And as things went on, we started to get some very strange things that first month and a half. We got I think it started off with the sound of glass smashing, but there was no glass to be found. There was nothing downstairs. They'd hear it fairly regularly, and obviously being quite young, myself and my brothers being younger than me, we had lots of toys lying around, and we had lots of things. and they had to be packed away. So when my parents went out to the shops or anything like that, obviously we had a toy chest, put them away. We would lock the house up, come back, and the toys would be scattered all over the house. And we had other things. The TV would change channels on its own, turn itself off, turn itself on, and those things were kind of strange and weird. And my dad was basically found the whole thing really quite amusing. My mum was terrified. But my dad just made I mean, I can remember going downstairs for breakfast, and my dad was like, TV's changed channels on its own again last night. Remote control was in the middle of the floor, and it just, and he just found it amusing.
Wow.
But one of the main things that happened nearly every day was there was a wall between our hallway to our kitchen, and every day there would be like this banging against this wall. Now, my mum in the 80s had these decorative plates, as people did in the 1980s.
Yeah,
These lovely decorative plates you'd hang on your wall, and they would be rattling and worried that they would fall and smash and things like that. And so this banging, this beating against the wall would become more and more incessant. And my mum, although she's very little, basically didn't take any shit. She's from North London, and she would swear at it, and she would have a go at it, and it would stop immediately.
Ah.
Now, but that happened pretty much every day. My mum was worried for us, and like I say, just didn't understand what was going on. My mum was a care home worker. My dad was a builder. They didn't really get into the paranormal stuff. It was just one of those things. And then essentially, there's kind of like a really nice kind of footnote to all of this, which is really interesting, is that after 6 weeks, the former owner of the house, this lovely lady, came back. She was just happened to be in the area. She's visiting friends who'd come back, and she knocked on the door. So she was kind of interested in what we were doing. My dad, being a DIY, and a builder, he was knocking down walls and decorating and wallpapering and stuff like that. And my mum and dad were a bit embarrassed, to be honest, because we were changing her house quite a lot. And she had a look around and was commenting on what we were doing, and had a cup of tea, and it was just like a really nice general chit chat about what we were doing to the home. Did not mention the poltergeist stuff and the weird things at all. It just didn't. It's not the kind of thing you raise in conversation. But before she left, she turned to my mum and she said, "You've been having some strange things happen here, haven't you?"
Oh.
And my mum was just like, "Yeah, we have." And I say this name, I honestly can't remember the actual person's name. So in my head, his name is Martin, but I don't know if it actually was Martin. But she said, "It's all right," she said. "Martin's come with me now. You won't have any more problems."
Wow.
And she left, and the poltergeist activity stopped that day.
Whoa.
And Martin obviously was her husband who died, and he died in a motorcycle accident in the next village along. After he died, his wife couldn't stand living in the property. It had too many memories for her. She just couldn't do it. Had her husband's mark all over the house, and so she left and she sold it up and she moved to Oxford. And it was just by happen chance that she was seeing friends in the area that she came over, and on that day everything stopped. The temperatures in my room returned to kind of normal, and nothing else happened. So, but that was for about a period of 6 weeks of objects moving and things. There was nothing destructive, and there was nothing apart from the kind of hammering against the wall. There was nothing that was. It wasn't really a typical poltergeist case.
Yeah.
Short period of time, yes. Young family, yes, but I wasn't an adolescent. I was too young for that. There was apart from moving house, which would have been quite stressful. There wasn't a great stress. It's a very kind of loving family. And I think having heard bits of that and remembering certain things, like my bedroom used to smell of earth like potatoes, and would be freezing cold, and I remember that vividly. I remember certain areas in my home, the landing upstairs, I really did not like, and I could never shake that off.
Yeah.
And certain parts of the house had this atmosphere, had this feeling. It was no more than that, but obviously growing up with these strange things happening, and your parents do tell you a little bit about what's happened
Yeah.
in a kind of friendly, fun way. That's when my interest started from the age of 7, and as I grew up, we then, as a family, referred to this thing as Mr. Mason, and because that was his name, the husband's name. And so, when I talked to my mum and dad, or what I used to talk to my mum and dad, and I used to talk to my brothers, always about Mr. Mason. And if we had, as a kid growing up, we had babysitters over, I would take great delight in telling them about Mr. Mason and frighten the shit out of them. It was just like one of those things I could get away with as a kid, so I did. But
Just watch that landing when you go to the bathroom there, please.
so from there on in, I mean, I just grew up with this interest from about the age of 13, I think it was. I joined the SPR.
Yeah.
I read This House is Haunted by Guy Lyon Playfair about the age of 13, and growing up, having read about the Enfield case, I just wanted to experience it. Because remember, although we had podcast activity, it was, like I said, it was kind of shielded from me.
Yeah.
So I had this real kind of urge to, pretty weird, I know, but I had this real urge to be amongst that, to kind of experience it for myself, real, for real. And that's where the interest came from. And
Yeah.
I obviously get older as you do, and I got married and I got divorced, had kids and things like that. And but I never grew out of that kind of childlike fascination with the paranormal. So it stayed with me. So I ended up investigating.
Yeah. When you were talking about it before, obviously when you were just trying to describe various things, you still see it in your mind's eye?
Yeah.
It's mad, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I can still remember, like I said, obviously you're very, very young, so you're kind of impressionable. So I could definitely remember, obviously, vividly still remember the smell of my room, because it was this very strange earthy smell, which and it was very, very cold. I mean, there should be, although it was a detached property, so you had outside walls.
Yeah.
There was double glazed windows, and there should have been no structural difference between my bedroom and my parents' bedroom.
Yeah.
In terms of the heating, for instance, it just had my south facing.
Yeah.
My parents' bedroom would be nice and warm. Sorry, my parents' bedroom would be nice and warm. My room was absolutely freezing cold. And it was one of those things that, like I said, I still vividly remember. I vividly remember, like I said, my dad laughing about it. And and I think really,
Did your dad kind of like, almost like a sense of denial kind of thing? Did he
kind of. I just think my parents didn't really understand what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
And so my dad used humour. My mum was just terrified. They had two completely different reactions to it.
Yeah.
And it was this kind of sense of being kind of incredulous, finding it just puzzling, just weird, just confusing, and my parents couldn't really explain it. So they just used what they could to get over it, basically, to understand, to try and get around it.
There's Lisa saying that did the smell go away after Martin left?
Yes, yeah. As like I say, and as did the cold, and obviously the other things, the things moving around, and so it was kind of that. Let's say so. From the beginning, it had this really, I had this real interest growing up around that, and my parents having experienced that, and so that's where it really all started from for me.
Yeah. No, that's great. That is. I mean, obviously, it's more like obviously you do it out of interest, but it's also like a bit of a face your. Were you obviously quite fearful of it when you were a kid, so it made me like a face your fear kind of scenario that you actually started doing this?
I think because my dad took it with humour, and made light of it. I wasn't actually scared or afraid of it. And so whether that helped me later on in life, I don't know. Possibly,
Yeah.
but it was definitely one of those things where I never felt scared. I
Yeah.
didn't like certain things, but I was never felt scared that I was that something, that there was a ghost in my house,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it was just, it was it's just taken as something that was strange but quite amusing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah. So that's how I took it.
I think Tim from Dark Vale's got a musty smell, but I don't know what that might be, mate. Tim, I hope you're all right, mate. Hopefully, we'll meet up sometime next year. Tim, always good. Have you met Tim before? From
Yeah. Great lad.
cracking bloke, he really
Yeah.
is. So, as we move on,
Yes.
so what did everybody think of that, folks? Anything, any kind of like questions about that for Justin?
Yeah. I mean, like, obviously, looking back and being really quite skeptical, there's certain parts of me that now are going, well, the TV changing channels on its own.
Yeah.
It was the 80s. It was electrics. It was dodgy. In terms of electrics, it was a different time. So possibly explainable.
Yeah.
The cold room. Oh well, you got two. Exterior walls. Possibly. I can't explain. I would. The skeptical side of me thinking, well, maybe the hammering or the sound of hammering on my, on my parents' kitchen wall. Could that have been underfloor heating? Could that have been pipes?
Yeah.
Yes. Would they have stopped when my mum told it to stop? No. And so there's still kind of big question marks over it, and the fact that when Mrs. Mason came round, it stopped that day.
Yeah.
And I still think about that, and I still find that the most fascinating thing, because there you have essentially a poltergeist case that is, not ordinarily it's attached to a family. If you ever read poltergeist cases, they're usually attached to a family, and in that family, and usually an adolescent girl.
Yeah.
That is not the case for us. It was certainly attached to the wife. And when the wife wasn't there, that's why it was kicking off. It was just trying to get our attention to say, come on, where the hell is she?
Yeah.
Who are you? And trying to make itself known. So when she did turn up, it went.
Yeah.
So it wasn't attached to the land. It wasn't attached to the house. It was just obviously there out of frustration. And so it doesn't really conform with a lot of poltergeist cases in that experience.
Is that the thing from John Boy there? Was there any one event that you might think of that maybe started it, or
it started essentially in terms of that feeling of unease and that dark it had like an atmosphere about the house that my mum really didn't like, and it was on the very, very first day that we moved in. But I don't think there was any particular, in terms of the toys moving around or anything like that, not a huge amount. But what I will say is what we found out later was that Mr. Mason was not a very good DIY person. So when he did do DIY, he took real pride in it, and it was like his big thing. And we tended to get more activity when we were changing the DIY that he had put in. So we changed some doors around that he'd fitted, for instance, and he'd only half finished the hallway, and we'd finished it off, and we tended to get more activity. Around, obviously we're redecorating ourselves, so we tend to get more things when we were essentially. We only found this out from Mrs. Mason when she was coming round, because we were changing doors and things like that, and she mentioned it that's what he was particularly proud of.
Yeah.
So we think, oh, well, that may be why we tended to get more activity around those times when we were changing his DIY jobs.
Well, that well, they say. I mean, obviously, you obviously know this as well, Justin. But they always say that kind of building work and alterations within a house can definitely spark some kind of activity, whatever it might be.
So I don't think it amused him. Let's put it that way.
No. At least was at least asking about how did the old lady know you were getting activity, which was strange.
She didn't, because we didn't tell her. Yeah, so I really, so obviously as she was walking around the house, she must have had a feeling, but she didn't mention it to us or to my, well, not to me, but obviously to my mum and dad. So we've got no idea
Yeah,
which part of Northamptonshire. It's from a little town called Raunds, and it's about 10-15 minutes away. It's about 10-15 minutes away from a place called Wellingborough. But yeah, it's a town called Raunds in Northamptonshire.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm gonna get to it tomorrow, but I'm about halfway through editing a new Dead Cold Tales story, which I'm gonna release on Halloween night. Sorry, but it is a poltergeist case. Do you know Mark Edgerton from the Ghost Club?
Yeah. I've heard of it. Yeah.
He does. I've met him quite a few times, and we did an investigation at in Huntingdon.
All right. Yeah.
Where with him with a few other Ghost Club members there about a month or so ago. Yeah, so he gave me his book, and he says there's a story in there that'll probably interest you. And he says if you want to actually use it for one of your tales, he says please do. You got my permission. So I've read the whole. I've narrated the whole lot. I'm just kind of editing it there now because I could never do a live read. To be fair, Jesus wept. That would take forever if I was to do a live read.
Well, I was just gonna say that the podcast, and obviously we'll talk about the podcast later, obviously, but there is one next Monday, which is on the 6th of November. But my first one is on this coming Monday, and I've been able to rope my mom into coming onto it.
Brilliant.
Because I thought, actually, remember, like I had a lot of it kind of hidden from me, and I thought the best person to actually speak about it is probably my mum about all this stuff. So yeah, she's not good with technology, but we're gonna have a go at getting her on and chatting about the whole poltergeist thing. So it should be fun.
Oh, fantastic! I look forward to that. Okay, but I'll definitely give that a watch. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, bless her.
Spurious link, but obviously, again, folks, just check out Justin's new channel. It's in the description of this video below. A link to his channel, but you see it on the ticker there as well. Type that into YouTube, and it will take you directly to his podcast channel. And make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, please.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, like I say, and genuinely from me. Obviously, for those that know me from Paranormal Truth days, those times are great, but basically I'm starting from scratch. So if you could subscribe, even though my channel hasn't even started yet, I'll be really, really grateful. Thank you.
If you've got a massive spike in subscribers before you even start, I'm going to be well upset.
Yeah, on my YouTube channel, there's literally 0 videos right now. So, but yeah, if you could, then thank you. Because
it's going to be good, and I can already see that and obviously I don't know the timeline of how long you're going to take this for, Justin, but I could already see it's going to be a win-win for you, and I'll definitely be supporting it. That's for sure.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, but we have so many questions, and actually the podcasts I want it to be about, and I want it to be about the paranormal community, witnesses, people who've witnessed something really strange. Yes, we'll have academics on. Yes, we'll have skeptics and believers on. I just want a whole range of people to talk about what they think is going on. Because, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in a second, although I started off, even with that kind of early childhood experience, I started off as this complete skeptic.
Yeah.
And I thought, come on, it was just a bit ridiculous. And in the early Paranormal Truth days, I was very, very happy in that feeling, that very, very skeptical. And then, as you well know, something happened, and like that, I had to completely change my mind. So I know something is going on. There is something out there. The paranormal does exist. It would be interesting to find out what people's opinions are on it, and to make it interactive and get this kind of feedback from people about what the bloody hell is happening and why is it happening, and why have they only shown little snippets of things, Yeah.
I just find the whole thing quite interesting. I really do.
Yeah.
It's also I've never really. I mean, if anybody's watched, if I don't know, obviously everybody on here has watched my videos, but I don't really get a lot at all. Captures of voices every now and again. And as I said on, I was watching Beto the other night, and he was talking about like these people that go to these places for 2 hours, and then deem it like either haunted or not haunted. It's just like it's just an absolute bloody unbelievable. I mean, and I definitely learned something from you guys. Years ago, Paranormal Truth guys, where you said you have to keep on. I know it doesn't make, the only thing is that it doesn't make for good YouTube stuff for you. If you really want to do the paranormal right, you need to go back to locations time after time after time again, and spend many weeks, many hours there to try and deem this place either haunted or not haunted.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like we went all around the country, and we used to say it time and time again exactly that,
Yeah.
and we would go to these places and supposedly really haunted places, and we weren't getting anything, and it was just like, well, what are other people getting that we're not?
Yeah.
Because we would spend hours, and we'd come out of it with absolutely nothing. And you'd see some TV show, and straight away there's things kicking off and walls banging and objects being thrown, and we just don't get it.
Yeah.
So, but you're absolutely right, because one location that we went to, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a second, about 30 East Drive, it is one famous location in the UK, but for the longest time I thought it was a scam. Absolute scam. I thought it was a money-making scam. I thought people go in there based on a story from the 1960s, and there was nothing there. Absolutely nothing there. But we tried, and actually over time, I think I must be spending I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of hours investigating that place, and then we got something. So I don't know if you want to if you want to go into the whole realm of 30 East Drive or not.
Well, I kind of do, because that leads us onto the next one, Justin. Because I was definitely going to ask you, what has been your favourite places that you've investigated? I've obviously I work with Diane a lot.
Yep.
Whenever I can, and she's a lovely lady. She really is. But she's out chasing vampires tonight, isn't she? With Whitby.
Oh, in Whitby. Yes.
So. God bless you, Diane, if you watch this later on. So she's told me many things about what you and Dale used to get up to.
Yeah.
There's a place that I was going to ask you about called the Hell House.
Yes.
Now, where is that place? I mean, obviously that's a dubbed name.
Middlesbrough is where it is.
Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
Well, Middlesbrough's hellish at the best of times. I know. I had a mate of mine went to university down there. We used to go down there for drinks every couple of weeks. Jeez.
Yeah, it was in Middlesbrough, and the homeowner and her husband, the lady who owns this, it was her own home. It wasn't in some kind of big mansion or anything like that. And she was swearing blind that there was some kind of demonic or evil thing that was in her home. And there was one occasion when we were invited to her place, and at that point, I was working as a tattooist. I kind of wasn't teaching at that point. I was a teacher many years, and I decided to jack it in and become a tattooist. And I wasn't getting that much work.
As you do.
Yeah, as you do. And so I had this client come in, and I couldn't really turn them down, but it meant I was quite late getting to Middlesbrough because it's quite a way away.
Yeah.
So Dale got there before me, and he loved to kind of endlessly rib me about this. But he arrived first, met the owners. They left the property, leave it to their own devices, and he just basically was there waiting for me to turn up.
Yeah.
But in the time that Dale was there, he walked along the corridor, on the downstairs corridor, and as he was passing the stairs, he had something run at him down the stairs, right directly towards him. When he kind of fell back in shock, and because it was like a boom, 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 boom down these stairs, and terrified him a little bit. And then he kind of walked into one of these downstairs bedrooms, and so I think something hissed at him. And Dale basically phoned me up, kind of swearing and just like, mate, you've got to get here because it's just kicking off, and I am not going into this house until you get here. These things have happened, and yeah, he didn't forgive me for basically not turning up at the same time as him. And after that, actually, there was a few little things, but yeah, Dale experienced that on his own, and I completely missed out on that, I'm afraid. But yeah, it was a bit of a strange house. Yeah.
It's did you watch? Have you watched Ian Griff's most recent video? Where they're in that abandoned place. They must have been there for about 4 times there now.
Yes.
And
yeah.
they got running. What sounded like running coming towards them, and then I was surprised really. But Steve kind of legged it behind Griff.
Yeah, exactly. And I did hear that, and it's always kind of interesting when if you hear something and it sounds like it's coming towards you and then recedes away.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much what it sounded like. There was almost something small, I would say, like a child, almost running past them or pattering past them. Yeah, really, really interesting. Yeah, I did see that one.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So let's get on to one of my favourite locations. I mean, this place will split people right down the middle. It really will. I mean, I've got people in chat there and no, just don't believe it whatsoever. They think it's like it's a money making scam. The Carol, the lady that lives next door, she's the keyhole as well, isn't she, I think?
Yes. Yeah.
So she's the one that's making all the noises there, and but obviously I've been there myself, and you've been there many times. I've only been there once, so I can't really comment too much on it, although I really did enjoy it. And I would definitely like to go back again. I've already been there. I always sounded out Diane about it there, but I would definitely like to go back. No disrespect to seeing Griff, because that was like a fanboy moment for me, because I kind of like grew up my paranormal grew up like watching them at East Drive, and it was like, to go and do that.
Yeah, Steve and Griff pretty much live there.
I know. I think they do. I think the owner, what's the chap's name again? The filmmaker,
Bill Bungie.
Sorry, Bill Bungie. He must have given them a set of keys by now, surely.
Yeah, should have done. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, on my video of East Drive, when me and Diane were on up kind of like a top in Hertfordshire, and we were talking in what they call Hell's Devil's Bridge up there. She talks about like something that happened to you guys there. Obviously, obviously where the women were all the girls were in the room, and they had that hand on the arm routine.
Yes. Well, I mean, for those that don't know, I mean, 30s Drive in the UK is really quite famous now, but abroad, I think it's obviously less well known. So I'll just very, very briefly just say that 30s Drive is a pretty small 3-bedroom council property in a place called Pontefract.
Hello, love.
In England, and it was famous for, in the 1960s, a family living there called the Pritchards, and reputedly the most violent poltergeist case in Europe, because at one point, again apparently, a poltergeist dragged one of the children up the stairs by her neck.
Yeah.
Now. And it was written about by an author called Colin Wilson in his book called Poltergeist, and it's well worth reading because it's very, very interesting. Anyway, the home they lived in was kind of notorious in the local area, but not very well known nationwide, and it didn't really make the national papers when it happened in the 60s. Yeah, but it had this reputation, and nobody really wanted to buy it. Essentially, but this chap called Bill decided to buy it purely for the purposes of promoting his film. Yeah. Or When the Lights Went Out, and so he kind of started to kind of let people in, and then he thought he actually might be able to kind of make a bit of money from ghost hunters, investigators, because strange things were apparently happening. Now, when I first went there, and I started a long time ago with the Ghost Event Company run by Phil Wyman. Phil Wyman might have been a different thing altogether. Phil Wyman, not Bill Wyman. And I went there a couple of times, and obviously, like a lot of ghost event companies do, they try and people go there. But I wasn't that impressed, to be honest. I just thought it was very small, very quaint, very kind of cozy. Actually, I mean, it's quite
Yeah.
musty because it's kind of some things haven't really changed a lot, probably since the 70s.
Yeah.
And so, but I didn't really get it. I didn't really feel that there was something particularly bad or demonic or scary and things like that. And then Most Haunted, bless them, went there for a live. And I think we were there either the week before or the week after Most Haunted were there as well. And it was all kicking off for Most Haunted, as it does.
Oh,
And
amazing.
again, nothing. But all these tales about the place, and like a lot of people, I was very, very skeptical. Did not get it. Didn't really. You'd be sitting in the living room, and you might hear the odd creak from upstairs, but nothing that wasn't natural.
Yeah.
And so, like a lot of our episodes, we just thought nothing's happening here. Nothing's going on. This is not a haunted location. But as we spent more time there, and like I said, we probably spent hundreds of hours there. On one occasion, the one you're talking about with Diane,
Yeah.
she decided that they would get we were there for 2 days. We were two-night investigation. The first night, we had a person, lady from the Ghost Club, and we also had a John Fraser from the SPR. For those that know who John Fraser is, he's written a book on poltergeist and a really good authority on poltergeist cases. And so we invited them over.
He's part of the Ghost Club as well. I've met
Yes,
him.
and didn't get anything, but that wasn't a particular surprise,
Yeah.
because that's what we was expecting, Anyway, they left early hours of the morning, and then they got their train back, wherever they're going, and we stayed. And on the second night, we had a people who, not Derek Acora. We had some of our subscribers, some of our guests. We invited them over. And we had a number of ladies who were there, and one of those was Diana. And she decided that actually, what we're going to try and do is we'll just have the women. Maybe we can get something happening. We'll just have the women having a séance, sitting in Philip's bedroom, and we'll see if we can get some kind of activity to happen. And so all the guys, the men, went downstairs, checking, looking at the laptops and the monitors and things like that. But they had this séance, and they seemed to get this feeling that there was something in the room with them. And Diane felt like a hand going on her arm, and they could almost see, she said, almost like the white fingers of a hand on her arm.
Yeah.
And she felt that there was something that wanted their attention, but instead of giving it attention, she decided that no, we're just going to go downstairs. We'll just kind of not give you what you want, and we're just going to go downstairs in the kitchen. And that's what they did. And after a little while of us just talking in the kitchen, we started to hear this banging from directly above our heads. And I'm looking around, and everybody's accounted for. Everybody's downstairs. Nobody's upstairs at all. And there was this repeated banging from Philip's bedroom. And I thought, shit, I've not got a voice recorder up there. So I ran upstairs, put a voice recorder in the middle of the carpet, then ran back, didn't give it any time, just ran back straight into the kitchen. And I thought, please, come on, keep going with this banging that was going on, because we knew that it wasn't any of us, and it wasn't from outside, and it wasn't the next door neighbours. It was directly above our heads. And this banging continued. This banging, and I think we pretty much worked out that it was on there was a wooden TV cabinet, an old wooden TV cabinet in Philip's room, and it was coming from that.
Yeah.
And
one next to the boiler door, isn't it?
Yeah, and there was about a dozen bangs, and it seemed to be becoming a little bit more insistent, and a little bit kind of angry, and a little bit louder. And I thought, if I've got that recorded, I'm thinking this is genuine. This isn't some kind of, this is not some creaky floorboard here. This is happening, and it's happening directly above our heads, and we know where everybody is, and it's almost like a locked off room. And so after a little bit, and I thought, right, I'm going to run back upstairs, grab the voice recorder, came back downstairs, and I was listening to it on headphones like this. And we had it recorded, all of these bangs from furniture, crystal clear. And I was ecstatic, and I was passing around my headphones, listen to this, we've got it. We've actually got real poltergeist activity, and it's happening above us. But we didn't go in the room, and we carried on ignoring it.
Yeah.
And at that point, directly above our heads, all of a sudden these were not footsteps, these were thunderous stomping, loud above our heads. And it was like stamping. And we could track the movement above our heads from the doorway of Philip's bedroom, for those that know 30 East Drive, going diagonally across the bedroom and then just stopping. And it was like stamp, stamp, bum, 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 bum. And we were just kind of like looking at each other. The downstairs in the kitchen diner area, the light was swaying from the energy of the banging. And I'm just like staring at Dale, and I'm just grinning like a schoolboy, basically. And we're kind of grinning at each other and kind of swearing, and we're just like ecstatic because it was the most ridiculous, incredible experience. And of all the times we'd been there, I just didn't believe in it. Yeah. And at that point, something wanted itself to be known.
Yeah.
Very, very very, very violently. And I don't think obviously we went back the following year. We decided to go for 5 days of investigating and things like that. We invited Kieran O'Keefe to be with us, and we never got anything that big, but we never expected to get anything that big again.
Yeah.
But when we had Kieran with us, we still had things going on during the day. We had keys rattling in the door. We had the sound of children laughing in the hallway once. That was in front of 2 police officers who turned up at 2, 3 in the morning for a look around, and they kind of witnessed it as well, and then left sharpish afterwards. Jesus. And then, so we had all these kinds of things, and then when we was with Kieran in the kitchen, there was a time when I was there with Steve and Griff was talking to camera. And I could see Steve who stood in front of the kitchen door, and Kieran O'Keefe was right by the laptop, maybe 3 foot away from this kitchen door.
Yeah.
And so I can see everybody, and then clear as crystal, couple of knocks on the kitchen door, and I didn't think anything of it because I just assumed it was somebody knocking on the door, asking permission to come in because they didn't want to interrupt. And then Griff commented, did you hear that? Kind of, did you hear that? And I opened the door, and there was nobody behind it. So me and Steve were saying to Kieran, we're like, come on, Kieran. We've literally heard something knocking on the door, and there's nobody behind.
I bet he still explained it away.
Oh no! All he said in the most brilliant, typical kind of Kieran way was, "Well, what we can say," he said, "is a noise came from the direction of the door." And it was just like, so he wouldn't call it a knock, and he wouldn't call it unexplained or paranormal. It was just like, come on.
I love him. I absolutely love Kieran. He's fantastic. He really is.
Oh yeah, he'll never admit to anything, and that happened right in front of him.
Yeah. Oh man, I met him actually at. I was at the Danny Robbins. I know what I saw, the haunted, the live show.
Yeah.
On Tuesday in Watford. It was absolutely fantastic, and we went up into the merch area afterwards, and Danny Robbins, Kieran O'Keefe, and
Evelyn.
Evelyn Hall over there. So we met them all, got a photograph taken with us, and that was fantastic. Yeah. I know because I'd met Danny once before when I went to the Charles Dickens Museum. He was doing like a night there, and it's a good thing about Danny Robbins as well. I mean, he might be obviously this this quite famous person now in the paranormal world, but I can send him not a personal message, but like direct message him on Twitter. And he answers me back.
Yeah, he does. He does. Yeah. And I tell you something that most people probably don't know about Kieran O'Keefe.
Yeah,
the man is a hugger, right? So when we picked him up at the train, I was expecting a very polite kind of academic handshake,
Yeah.
and he just wraps you around in a big hug. It's dead lovely. You just don't expect it from somebody you kind of grew up watching Most Haunted. You know, when I was a kid, I used to watch Most Haunted because I was kind of fascinated. And as I was getting up, but yeah, I wasn't expecting that from Kieran. He's a lovely chap, lovely fella.
Has he messaged you since Tuesday night?
No, but he better. I want him on my podcast.
Diane was
I know they're a
asking.
bit, yeah, I know they're a bit busy at the minute.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, things East Drive. I don't want to talk about East Drive all night,
Yeah.
as much as I'd probably like to. My only things at East Drive, and I'd never even heard anything in the night, but I was stood at the top of the stairs when I'm editing my video for East Drive. I hear a voice, a very low voice at first. It was barely audible to be fair, but like a very shallow whisper. So I clipped that section and cranked up the volume, kind of thing. And it was there. It was the for me anyway. The voice was there. I mean, it could have been, I don't know. It could be electronic, bad electronic phenomena kind of thing.
Yeah.
But to me, the voice, the whisper said, "Don't go down there," or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, we tend to get. I mean, we mainly got we did get a lot of audible noises from East Drive, and we got we've got a lot of children's voices.
Yeah.
Giggling, particularly. We had the camera on the landing upstairs, and we captured a voice. We couldn't work out what it said, but somebody who knew Latin was able to translate it. It came from Latin.
Wow.
And we had a child saying "mummy" on the landing as well, clear as crystal on the live stream. The really interesting ones is when we'd leave the house, lock it up, go for lunch, leave it running, and people would be listening to something rummaging around, like near the microphone of the camera, or kind of voices kind of like near the microphone, or things being kind of moved or chucked around and things. Yeah, I always find it most fascinating when we get a live stream camera going and leave the property, and then people could listen on headphones and things. And I always found that most interesting because we knew nobody was in it.
Because obviously I used to watch your stuff at East Drive as well, and when you used to do, and I think Steve was there that night as well. You'd all gone down, you'd gone outside, and the camera was on the landing, pointing to Diane's room.
Yes, yeah.
So it's literally pointing at the landing. The back of the camera's at the toilet,
yeah,
the bathroom, and it's pointing down the landing to Diane's room. After about maybe 10, 15 minutes, you can hear footsteps walking around the camera.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Yeah, and that was quite common, actually. It was very, very kind of common, that. The one thing I would say for anybody who's thinking of going to East Drive, or is kind of interested in the place and may want to go to a ghost event, if you have a voice recorder, take it with you wherever you are. Yes, if you've got two, leave one in the house running all the time if you can. But I can remember one time when we had cameras set up and voice recorders set up, and we went out for some people went out for a vape break. That was Dale, I think. Got a bit of fresh air outside, and 3 foot away, some children were giggling.
Yeah,
and there were no children there, and it just blew my mind, because 3, 4 foot away from me, and I just thought, come on, it's Carol's grandkids in the garden. No kids around. No. Shining a torch late at night. No kids around.
Absolutely not. I remember, obviously, when we went to the pub, when we had a break from East Drive, when I was there with myself and Steve, my good mate, and then we went to the Weatherspoons pub in Pontefract. Not Pontefract. It is Pontefract. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went for a break, and we were chatting amongst ourselves there, and Griff had actually said as well that and I've heard him mention this a few times, one of the first times he was there, I think it was even before that even really started, before the Ouija brothers were even born, if you want to call it that, he got his voice recorder on his phone, left it on that very same cupboard in Philip's room, I think it is, next to the TV. They went away, came back, and his phone had been literally dismantled.
Yeah.
Literally dismantled, taken apart, and rendered useless.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I remember him telling me he was still kind of, that was wild. That's like in the very, very early days of Ouija Brothers, and that's the same kind of time when he was hissed at. And there's a famous little clip of Griff literally being hissed at and then running out.
Which you probably won't. You probably wouldn't. You would never see him do that these days. I don't think.
Oh, he's hardcore now.
Yeah, definitely. One other thing I want to talk about East Drive again. I'm talking about when the Ouija Brothers went there with the lady that goes with them as well. I can't remember her name there now. I think she's the Australian lady.
Oh, Amy Script.
No, she might be Aussie. It's definitely not Amy. Is it one of is it Steve Griff's sponsor?
Oh yes, yeah. I know
her name. I do apologise to the lady if she ever watches this. They were all. I think it was one of their last long times there. They were obviously went to bed, kind of thing. They were all in one room. There was a camera at the top of the landing pointing into their room, and then the camera was down below with the back of it to the door. Obviously, we saw that chest compression from Griff.
Yes,
which was just absolutely nuts.
Yeah,
and even then, when the noises were going on, Steve said he doesn't remember this, but he was a sleeper probably. But whenever the noises were going on, you could hear like knocking or tapping. Steve was moving in his bed. He was as if subconsciously maybe disrupted by the noise, but obviously without really acknowledging it.
Yeah.
But then down at the creepiest thing for me, I mean, obviously what happened to Griff was just bizarre, but for me, the creepiest thing, and I got massive chills. I was watching it at the time. The camera downstairs, again, with the boom mic on it, boom mic on it. It felt like it sounded to me like somebody was rubbing their fingers down the boom mic.
Yeah.
And then they were like, you could hear plastic.
Yeah.
As if like somebody's touching the camera body, and then you could hear breathing. It sounded like child's breathing.
Well, the most kind of frustrating thing that obviously we obviously spent a long time then, and we used to do these live streams. For those that are from Paranormal Truth days, you'd know, we'd do these live streams from 8 p.m. till 5 in the morning every single night. I think at one point we did it every single night for 5 nights.
Yeah.
And by and large, we didn't get a lot. And yeah, we had some amazing things happen, but not necessarily kind of captured and things. But when you're having to talk to camera until 5 in the morning, obviously it's pretty wearing, and it's hard work trying to keep the conversation going, trying to talk to people at home. They've got questions, that kind of thing. So by the time it gets to 5 in the morning, you're kind of slightly delirious, ready for bed, absolutely shattered. So as soon as you say, right, that's it, guys, it's 5 in the morning. I'm going to turn the cameras off. I'm going to get to bed. See you again tomorrow. Later on tonight at 8 p.m. We're going to do it all over again. Yeah. So we turn the cameras off, turn the live stream off, and within about 5 minutes, literally within 5 minutes, we just abandon everything in our bedrooms, in our sleeping bags, and we're like, we just need to get some sleep now.
Yeah,
because it's just too much. And when I'm dog tired, I can be asleep within 5 minutes. So I'd get into the sleeping bag. I used to go into Diane's bedroom. Dale always used to sleep in Philip's room, and and I knew it'd be really quick. But as soon as what happened was I closed Diane's bedroom door. Head hit the pillow. You think, oh, and then you'd hear marbles being thrown on the landing right outside your door, and you can hear the marbles hitting the skirting boards, on the landing. And part of you's just like, you bastard. We've been asking for something to happen for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Nothing. And as soon as we go to bed and as soon as we turn the cameras off, things get thrown around. But you're so tired at that point, you don't care. Yeah. And we were like, do you know what? Bollocks. I'm going to sleep. I don't care. I'm not going to play your games. So yeah, we had that, and again, it leads you into thinking something is listening, something is not playing your game, and actually, what it's doing is it's kind of taking the piss.
Yeah,
Basically,
well,
it's waiting for you to go to bed, and then it'll throw something just to kind of say, "Look, I was here. I just wasn't going to do it when you wanted me to do it."
that just says something that's obviously intelligent.
Yes, yes,
That it's there. I mean, you talk about obviously like short-lived poltergeist happenings.
yeah,
6 weeks, a month. Even like up to maybe a maximum of 6 months.
yes,
But activity happens there still to this day.
yeah. I think it's.
It's still quite rare that it happens.
I don't think it's your typical poltergeist case. It's more of a haunting linked to the land, I would say.
Yeah.
Because obviously a poltergeist case is short-lived, and it's centered around a family, and obviously that family have long since disappeared. So I would say whatever is there maybe because of all the people that go there asking for spiritual activity.
Yes.
But I do think it's linked to the land in some way, not to a particular person.
I also think it's linked to the land. I mean, that's one of the when I talked to Mike Cavell about how I would like approach East Drive to do my video, and I went down that battle route. Obviously, the castles, as the crow flies, is reasonably close.
Yeah,
And the battle sites, some of the battle sites were within Chequerfield Estate, the estate that the house resides in, and the again, the people say that activity doesn't always happen at 30 East Drive. It can happen at other places within the estate as well.
yeah, absolutely.
It just so happens that 30 East Drive is the one you can actually get access to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of the neighbours say that stuff happens in and around that whole area.
Yeah,
the whole Chequerfield estate in Pontefract.
That's got to be so. I always think that's got to be something to do with the battle. It has to be.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? Some kind of big historical event like that. You'd think it must have some kind of link.
I mean, so many people must have actually died in and around that Chequerfield area and around the castle as well during, the 3 sieges that were actually well documented. That's just them 3. Never mind anything else.
Yeah. It is a fascinating place. It is a fascinating place, definitely.
Yeah, I can see why Steve and Griff want to go back there. I can also see why people want to badmouth it. Obviously they know that the film producers actually got it, kind of thing. But if pound for pound, I mean, how much is it like during the week? During the week when we went, it's about £300 for the night.
Yes, that's about right, and about £450 for a weekend, I think it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still, if you want to get go to a historical location, and believe it or not, East Drive is a semi-detached house, but it's still a historical location. If you want to go to any of these other council-run places in cities and stuff like that, they will charge you that and more to get in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, East Drive is actually still, if you want to get 4 people there on a weekday, you pay £75 each, and you've got the place to yourself all flaming night and or morning.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say, obviously it's got its critics, and I get it, because most of the time you don't get anything happening.
Yeah.
But it's definitely one of those places where something is going on. Something is definitely there. That's why we kept on going back. That's why we wouldn't keep going back if there was nothing there at all.
Well, exactly, Brian. Brian, I know Brian, but BR is a. I used to work with Brian. He's an electrician. We used to work together in Battersea for quite some time now and again, over a 4-year stretch. So we got to know each other reasonably well, and now he follows me on this. So. Well, is there any other locations that really spring to your mind, Justin? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
Go on.
Just before you and Dale probably pretty much call it a day, you were at a lot of tunnels.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, near Doncaster, an old railway tunnel. Yeah.
Yeah, you were setting up, and I think you were doing sound tests. And there was a voice came through when you were doing the sound tests live on the on camera. Was
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where,
I had to rewind it and just play it again. It's just tell you that.
yeah, I mean, it's actually, I mean, in a weird way, I mean, it wasn't, we wasn't, like I say, really expecting an awful lot from these tunnels,
Yeah.
and obviously there's acoustic issues and things like that, but. It's happened to us quite often. Well, it's not to say often, but it has happened where you do not hear anything physically with your own ears, but you will, when you replay the footage back, you will hear a voice come through on the audio.
Yeah.
And it was that's one of those occasions. It was. You don't think you just treat things as normal. You didn't hear anything happen, and then you, like I say, you rewind it back, and there's like seemingly a voice of something else or somebody else with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's always very, very interesting when that happens. So it
Yeah.
has happened more than once. That.
Yeah. Well, aside from that one, is there any other locations you really stick to your mind that was was really good investigation?
I mean, I like the ones which just have atmosphere.
Yeah.
Any of those locations, like I like Woodchester Mansion is a brilliant place because it's got fantastic atmosphere, and you've got. I used to like going to old theatres. There's a place called Royal Court Theatre, I think, is in back up Lancashire, and that's got a great atmosphere. Just because it is just, like I say, this kind of, not creepy, but it's got the feel of time about it. A properly old theatre, and I used to love those places mainly for the history. If anything kind of weird happened, it's a bonus. I mean, Jan's about Pendle Hill. That was a nightmare. That was, for different reasons.
I had a nightmare as well when I went to Pendle Hill with them too.
But one place it's actually in the town where I live, in Gainsborough, Lincolnshire, which is where I live. There's a place called the Old Nick Theatre. It's quite a popular place. A lot of ghost event companies go there, and it's a small theatre, but it used to be the magistrate's court and a Victorian police station. It used to be the police station for the town, and it's still got the old cells, the female cells and the male cells. It's very, very atmospheric.
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, from there, I think my very, very first ghost hunt as an adult was there, and we got groaning, a male groan from the cells, which were empty, which was quite cool.
Yeah.
And then I went for it on another occasion, and being with a ghost event company, they had a Ouija board set up, and I don't believe in Ouija boards one iota, but there was two fellas on the Ouija board, and they were complete skeptics. They were like, "Come on, I don't believe you exist. This is absolute crap. If you hear, do something, say something, throw something at me, blah 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 blah." And at that point, this object flew from an empty space and hit him square in the head in pitch black darkness. And it kind of landed by my feet because I was working for the ghost event company at that point. And I looked down because you hear this crack where it's hit him in the head. It's whizzed past his mate's ear, and it hit him square in the forehead. And it landed by my feet, and it was a digital camera battery.
Oh, wow.
No one knew where it came from. Absolutely no idea. It was just one of those. It was just a very, very odd thing. It's a very big rarity to get things thrown at you. And so I kind of like the Old Nick Theatre. Like I said, it's in my town. It's only 2 minutes away from where I live. So yeah, I try and go there quite often. But yeah, it's all good fun.
Interesting, man.
Yeah.
That's bizarre. I've been thinking of my paranormal journey, so I've had pretty so much sod all apart from it. Nothing's thrown at me. What's going on there? The people
Sod all is the norm. However, so I won't berate yourself because that's absolutely normally what happens.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, Justin. Let's as time is ticking on, let's talk about your podcast.
Yes.
Justin has a new podcast, and you might have heard me mention this at the beginning of the live stream. Justin has a new podcast channel series coming up called the Paranormal Monkey Podcast, and the link of it, I can say it again, the link of it is in the description of this video below. So please go and check it out. You'll see it on the ticker as well if you just type that into YouTube search engine and see the Paranormal the Paranormal Monkey podcast. Get us subscribed to, please, and hit that notification bell, because it's going to be a
Thank you.
belter. I know it is.
Well, the whole, I mean, obviously, since the Paranormal Truth days, I kind of left really the paranormal. I'd worked for, behind the scenes on a
Yep.
work, in creating and helping to create this a new society called the UK Paranormal Society, which is very much based on ethics and morality and trying to sort out some of the issues in the paranormal world, because quite frankly, there's a lot of them.
Yep.
And that was taking up a lot of my time, but I still kind of missed the investigating, and I kind of missed actually. We did obviously with Dale. We used to do a podcast. People may remember it, called Super Neutral. We used to do it every Monday, and I loved it because actually we spoke to some incredible people, and and some fascinating accounts from eyewitnesses, from academics. Again, we had some pretty well-known people, but also people from America. One of my favourites was a lady called Andrea Perron, who's from the original Perron family from the Conjuring film. If you've ever seen the Conjuring
I remember
film,
that. I recognise that surname.
yeah,
Definitely.
and she was lovely, just so lovely, and was really good at actually giving you the facts away from the silly movie. Why Paranormal Monkey? Quite a long story short, I suppose, very very quickly. I liked Paranormal Monkey because, again, going back to Phil Wyman days when the Ghost Event Company. He used to have a monkey, a bit like the Boo Bear, which would go off like EMF kind of detector. He had a monkey, and he used to go Paranormal Monkey, and I thought I love that, so I nicked it basically, and I thought I like I like this term Paranormal Monkey, so I decided to I like, and so yeah. Anyway, that's why I choose Paranormal Monkey, because I like the sound of it. Anyway, and so anyway, we did these podcasts with some fantastic people, and then that stopped. But I wanted to do another podcast because I said this at the start, to talk to other people about what they think is going on in the paranormal world, and I don't want it. I want it to be a complete mixture of people. I don't just want guys on YouTube. I don't just want academics. I want a whole range, and that could be somebody who's just experienced something in their childhood, like I did.
Yeah.
Somebody who may have written about it in a book or something like that. But just a whole range of different people, and and I want it to be quite light-hearted, because it's a light-hearted subject, because it is. It's not exactly normal, this whole paranormal world thing, and I wanted it to be kind of interactive, because so many podcasts you see, if it's an audio podcast, it's usually just two people talking, and then on a video podcast, very rarely do you have a guest and then people watching being able to pitch in with their questions, and then I can then fire those questions directly to the guest in real time.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to be kind of lighthearted. I wanted it to be interactive. Yes, so that was the advent of it. That's the start of it, really. And I'm looking forward to it. And so yeah, what is it, embarrassing baby photos. I do have a photo of me when I was that age, when I was 7 years old. So I will put that on if you like. I will put that on. Yeah.
I want to see that.
Yeah, so you can visualize what I was like at the age of 7. I was angelic. Anyway.
Hello, Jane.
Hi, Jane. Yeah, so I wanted to kind of the guests I want onto my podcast should be from a whole broad range. Yes, I want people from America and some of those locations in America, and some of the the paranormal investigators over in America would be fantastic. Hi, Jem, and
Hey, Joe.
but also obviously in the UK, some people who look after heritage locations. I want them on.
Yeah.
I want the ghost hunters on. I want the academics on. I want the skeptics on. And yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to it. So hopefully it all goes well, and hopefully I can just carry on growing the podcast. And what I really genuinely would love is that word gets out, and people kind of enjoy it and come back, because I'm going to be doing it every single week, every Monday, 8 o'clock. Nothing happens on a Monday. nothing happened. Nothing interesting happens on a Monday. Come and say hello, because I want to. What's that? Yeah, no, it's not happening. So if you're kind of interested in that and would like to kind of come along and join the podcast, I'm going to keep it super light, super friendly. I'm not going to. It's not kind of some kind of. I'm not going to be ranting and raving like I used to so much. I'm just going to kind of keep it light and mainly be all about the guests. Hopefully, and if I'm not talking about guests, by all means, send me any clips or that you might have you think that's not unusual. We'll do some kind of reaction stuff. So if you've seen a clip or a video online or anything like that which you think may be genuine, send it over, and I can react to it in real time. It's all part and parcel of it. So yeah, it's all hopefully good fun.
Jem, if you want the link to Justin's channel, it's in the description of this live stream. So if you go into the description underneath on YouTube, you'll see it written there. I've linked it there. So, but I can always if it for whatever reason doesn't work, I can always post it out on social media. I'll quite happily share it around. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But
just or type in YouTube Paranormal Monkey Podcast, and then it should appear, and then you should be able to find it.
Yeah. So you're, and obviously doing this thing with your mum. On Monday, which is going to be fantastic anyway.
Yeah, it'll be funny. However it goes, because I think for my mum, actually, it's more because she's in her 70s now. It's kind of like more bragging rights for the ladies in the village that she's been on a podcast. To be honest, I think I'm a YouTuber, so I think she's going to love it.
I think I'd be hard pushed to get my mother on, and she's like in her late 70s there now, for God's sakes. Bless you. Hello, Mum, if you're going to watch this later on. So on the next episode, so the one you've been advertising, which is on the 6th of November, Monday the 6th of November. Keep that date in your diary, folks, because it's going to be an absolute belter. Justin is talking to the owners of the Conjuring House, which I know for a fact, and I'm going to give Amy and Ryan a plug here again there, because Amy and Ryan's Weird Adventures, if you go on their YouTube channel, and I've said this before, one of my favorite videos of theirs, and they are fantastic people because I've met them in real life as well, and they are lovely people. Go and check out their Conjuring House investigation on YouTube, because it is fantastic, and Ryan probably left with brown trousers, to be fair, as I would have done as well, to be fair.
Well, to be honest, I mean nearly everybody knows the film The Conjuring, the first film. The second one was about the Enfield poltergeist, and so everyone knows usually about the first one, about the Parent family. And again, like I said, I'd spoken to Andrea Perrin a long time ago, but fairly recently, in the last week or so, very, very big YouTubers in America, Sam and Colby, had spent a week there. Now, I know that there's a lot of criticism around these young YouTubers, and they may be faking certain things.
Yeah.
But if you take a look and watch their latest one is from this Conjuring House, and it's very, very, very interesting from my point of view, because they seem to try to debunk what they were getting. And it seemed to be fairly genuine looking spirit communication, due to two caretaker members not from them, but from two caretaker members from the house, who were able to basically link arms and seemingly have a tapping sound on command, and then them spelling out letters of the alphabet, and then them rapping when they hit the right letter, so they're able to give out messages. Very, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
But because, again, you've got these YouTubers, there's all this suspicion, right? And I'd be suspicious as well. So what I wanted to do, as I'm thinking, right, I want to speak to the owners of this place.
Yeah.
The current owners of this farmhouse. It has this reputation. It's had a movie about it. What is going on? Is there anything going on? If people visited it in Rhode Island, America, in America, and are they going to get that? Are they going? What is going on in this place? Yeah. Was it fake? Was it genuine? So, I really just wanted to kind of ask them, and I sent them a message. And I never, before Halloween, I thought there's not a chance in hell they're going to be so busy with kind of inquiries and things, and I just thought no way. And they sent me a message back within the hour going, first week of November, right? I was like, yes, absolutely. So yeah, I'll be speaking to the owners of the Conjuring House in America, which is my very first guest, and it will be fascinating. And as ever, he said, "Oh, it seemed genuine." Well, no, I did not say that. I said the activity seemed genuine, and they seemed to kind of try and debunk it, but I do know they have got 10 million subscribers, and
Wow.
they're huge in America.
Jesus.
But also with that is these people say, well, actually, no, what they're doing is faking things to create, obviously the conditions for it's going to look more exciting or going to look more scary or whatever.
Yeah.
So what I really wanted to do was, Jan's going, no, Mummy Cowell's my first, kind of. I wanted to, I wanted to get straight to the owners of the property and just from their point of view, they seemed quite they seemed quite a spiritual. The owners seemed quite spiritual and seemed quite connected with what they think is going on in that house. I just wanted to have a conversation, and so that will be my first proper. Sorry, Mum, my first proper guest will be the owners of that house.
That is going to be a very interesting one, definitely.
Yeah.
I've never actually watched any Sam and Colby. I've heard of them before. I've never watched them, but I've seen them.
Yeah,
I shouldn't really judge a book by its cover, I suppose, but you just look at them, they're just like young.
I would say, I mean, that was, that was their first episode I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it and I'm going, come on. You go to these places, you get nothing. You know it, I know it. We go to these places, you get nothing. And for for them to be there on the first day and they get this rapping on command, part of me is just going, come on, this is just if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. But that's what I want to put to the owners.
Yeah.
Was it too good to be true? Was anybody else hidden away on a different level?
Yeah.
What is your day-to-day experience of that place?
Yeah, definitely. I just want to go briefly back to East Drive.
You love East Drive. Go
on. When Steve and Griff, I think was it last Halloween? I had Bill there.
They were there last Halloween.
Yeah. The guest, and you were obviously there as well.
Yes.
When you're all talking in one of the rooms upstairs, because you're talking about rapping or banging on walls, even obviously when you talk about your poltergeist activity as a child. During that live stream that they did, because it was live, and there was just like loud thumps on the walls.
Yeah.
You were there as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon. It's not that uncommon. I mean, I think it was, but it wasn't. We used to kind of get that quite, I say fairly often, but we used to get kind of that kind of noise. But because it wasn't, because we had that little taste of something huge, and we knew what kind of energy it could have. It was still disappointing to us, even though it's good. If we know that it had the force to make the lamps, the light swing downstairs with the force of the footsteps, why the tiny little taps? And it was just a bit pathetic. So, I mean, there was one time, though, not on that occasion, there was one time when me and Dale were sat on the bed in Philip's bedroom, and to our side, where the wall was in Philip's room, when we sat on the bed, we heard this scratching along the wall, like a creature was kind of on the wall. Walking across, and that was weird because it was like something like nails on the wallpaper. That was a little bit freakier because that happened by our side. When you're in the same room as it, and there's only one door to get out, it's a little bit unnerving.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. My goodness me.
Yeah.
Well. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about your podcast? Have you got any other Have you got any other? Could you
I have
give?
I have a couple of people lined up. Yes, I've got a few
Could you
people lined
give
up. I know that
paranormal
there's a
viewers
guy.
a heads up on what might be coming after the Conjuring House?
There is, yes, exactly. Well, I've obviously got the Country House booked. I've got my next guest booked after that, which is a chap that you and I know, Kev Kerr, is going to be coming onto the podcast.
Kev Kerr
And
is a really nice bloke.
yeah, really nice guy. Absolutely,
Yeah.
He's a very level-headed, really lovely guy. Knows his stuff.
Yeah.
And so I've got Kev on.
And he looks like a rock star now and again.
I've been in talks with Amy and Ryan as well.
Hey,
Come on.
fantastic!
And but I think theirs won't have. I don't think that theirs can't be live. I don't think because of the time difference between the UK and America. Probably have to do that, film that, do the podcast, but it won't be as live. There'll still be a premiere, and still people can join in with the the chat during the premiere, but it won't be as interactive, unfortunately.
Okay, cool. Well, does anybody else have any questions for Justin whilst we're here? I know there's one there, Justin. I don't know if you want to answer it or not.
Go on then. Although, why did Paranormal Truth end? It was a mixture of things, really. It's quite a tricky thing. Some of it was down to me, I will say. Some of it was because I became part of the, like I say, UK Paranormal Society.
Yeah.
And part of it was the fact that we were trying to do things ethically and the right way, and looking after heritage locations and not trespassing and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And as I was working for them, there was one occasion when basically Dale wanted to go into an abandoned property, which would have meant trespassing, and I was can't do it. I cannot do it, Dale. Sorry. So that didn't go down particularly well, but I couldn't really explain the reasons why, as I'd signed an NDA at that point.
Yeah.
So I couldn't explain that. But so there was that, and there was also other issues in Dale's personal life, and things kind of petered off, unfortunately. And in the end, we just kind of decided to go our separate ways. I think Dale decided he was going to do it on his own for a little bit, but decided in the end that he was just going to turn and switch off the channel, essentially. Yeah. So unfortunately, all of that great Paranormal Truth stuff that we did, well, some of it was good, some of it wasn't so good. He got rid of it all, unfortunately. So here I am.
It happens, though. It happens. I mean, obviously, as that old saying, isn't all good things come to an end?
Yeah.
But believe it or not, folks, the Ouija brothers may finish sometime in the future. As we don't want them to, but it could well happen.
Yeah. And to be honest, I mean, people I don't think people properly fully realize the kind of the commitment it takes to get stuff out all the time, to edit it, and obviously to travel to a location, to spend the money getting to a location, to pay for a location sometimes, to film it for however many hours, to edit it, to get it out, and then to do the same thing maybe a week or 2 weeks later. It's a pretty full-on task, and bless them, the Ouija brothers do that brilliantly. I think, but it becomes a little bit too much sometimes, and I think that it's not surprising in some way that things have to end, unfortunately, at the end, at some point.
Well, here's one for you.
Any plans for investigations? I do. Well, I would.
Are we? Me and you going to do East Drive with Diane?
I would love to do East Drive again.
I'd love that.
Yeah, I'd love to do East Drive, and the fact is that we got that really mad activity because Diane.
Yeah.
Because of Diane, so get her in because she seems to attract them, and then hopefully we'll get something.
Not just taking this away from Diane, but I think if you've got like a load of blokes there, I don't know. Maybe in my experience, it doesn't get as much activity. But I think sometimes if especially if I don't know, if you want to, if it's a male spirit, if you want to go down that kind of the sex of a spirit kind of thing.
Yeah.
Having a female there or a group of females can really bring it out, and I really don't know why that is. But
I think you just have to try everything, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, like the experience we had, one of them was obviously children giggling and the name and children calling out for its mum. Now, a
That's
group
just
of guys,
as hell, that is.
a group of guys being in that property,
Hmm.
trying to coax a child to come towards
Yeah, yeah,
them.
yeah.
It's not
It's not going to
really
happen, is it?
the right thing. It's not. It's And there's me, and I'm going. Come on, I'm a teacher. It's just. It's
Even that sounded a bit sinister.
Yeah, exactly. A child is not going to come near me. But a female, it's going to work, And so yeah, so obviously, yeah, I'd love to go back there. I'd love to, there's so many locations, but it won't necessarily be on a live stream, and it won't necessarily be an investigation that's going to be put out on YouTube. But I will always go to investigations. It just won't necessarily be an 8-hour live stream.
Yeah. How we missed them.
No. And the older I get, the less I miss them.
Oh, God. Any more questions for Justin whilst he's here? Because we're probably going to sign off soon, unless anybody's got anything.
Yeah, fire away questions, guys. And like I say, if not, join me on the podcast on Monday, and you can ask me questions then.
Exactly. If you're going to save up your questions for Justin on for Monday, and then the following Monday, then please do.
Yes, exactly.
Because I, for one, will be looking forward to it. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like that, and they'll like I said, just very, very briefly, it won't just be these great big names when we do when we do have the guests. There'll be unknown names. There'll be people who may have had an amazing experience, growing up or as an adult. And I just want to kind of get to, not like uncanny, but, somebody who's may have something happened. And because I want it to be quite of an open kind of inviting atmosphere, then hopefully people can start to share some things. So it won't necessarily be just ghost hunters and academics. I would love people who have witnessed things to kind of be guests on it as well.
I mean, you talk about even Kev Kerr is, I don't know, he's relatively he's very under the radar, but he's been doing it for so many years.
Yeah.
And just because he doesn't have a YouTube channel.
No, a very rational chap, very skeptical, but and no nonsense. And there are so few people out there who are investigating the paranormal who are just straight down the line. They're not doing it out of ego. They're not doing. They're not faking stuff. In terms of they're not faking stuff for subscribers or likes or whatever. Yeah. They're just very, very honest guys and girls, and but there's very few of them. So I would much rather kind of highlight their work in lots of ways than maybe some of the flashier people who might use slightly dodgier tactics and techniques and gadgets, for instance.
Yeah. I mean, I've got Jane there saying that we're chatting with Lorien Jones, lots to offer, and with a lot of ghost stories. I love Lorien. She's absolutely. We've become such good friends. And on my last investigation, what you will see soon. So obviously you might have seen me advertised anyway. I went to Hill House in Herefordshire with Kev and Lorien and the Ouija brothers. So even that weekend was just regardless of the investigation, it was just a fantastic weekend. It really was. Lorien is a fantastic lady. She really is, and she does a lot for the paranormal world. And the story the stuff she does for Haunted Magazine, plug is fantastic. And I want to say this as well, Jane as well. What she does for the paranormal world,
absolutely,
and has done for many years, is absolutely fantastic. Jem as well, who was in this chat, all of them fantastic people.
And actually, the likes of Lorien and Jane and Corinne and Jem Treadwin and Diane James. There's loads of people out there in the community who do it for the love and the interest and the fascination they have with the paranormal, not out of some kind of, they're not doing it because of ego, which is huge, because there are so many egos out there. And we know, and that there are people out there who just do it to want to be on TV. And so I just don't have any time for those people, I've got to say.
Yes. Is that reference there that Jem's talking about? That's Jem Treadwin, by the way, folks. Is that the East Drive reference she was talking about? I take it.
Most likely,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Well, folks, I tell you what, it's been an absolutely fantastic night. I'm probably going to sign it off there now. It's been fantastic to even talk to Justin. I mean, I was surprised to meet him. I went to ParaMeet this year. I went up there with my mate Steve, and we were going to obviously meet Diane there as well. And I didn't know Justin was going to be there, and I've always wanted to meet him. And then me and Steve got there. We walked in. Diane came in, and then Justin was right behind her. I'm thinking, for God's sakes, I've been wanting to meet this bloke for flaming years, and there he is in the bloody flesh, and that was fantastic. I mean, it was a really good Paramet actually. Neil has done a good thing by putting that all together, and then for next year as well, Paramet 3 different locations.
Absolutely. I mean, and so for those that are joining in, like I say, Paramet is. I mean, there are lots of conventions, ghost hunting, paranormal type conventions, but I've got to say, Paramet have got it spot on.
Yeah.
In terms of, it's not much money. There's some great kind of guest speakers, some amazing, knowledgeable people, those who are kind of have a certain area that they're particularly interested in. And it's well worth going. And for me, the social thing, just putting a name to a face was just brilliant. The people who I'd seen, and I'd seen them, in articles, or I'd read about them in Haunted Magazine, or I'd seen them on YouTube, or I'd seen them talking about something. But actually, to meet them and meet them face to face and have a good old natter with them, it's what it's all about. It's all kind of,
it is,
and it was just a lovely kind of atmosphere. So have a go to, go to any of the 3 Parameets that are happening next year. You won't be disappointed, but I don't think by any of them. There's some great speakers in different parts of the country.
I mean, this band, without going into too much details about Paramet this year, I've watched a few guest speakers. All of them were fantastic. Kate Sherrill, that story that she had about her, again, like you, the childhood poltergeist. Jeez Louise, I was chilled to the bone with that one. Blimey.
Yeah, she's a fascinating person to talk to. Very, very knowledgeable. If she starts talking about spiritualism things, I'm like, wow, you really know your stuff. Very, very impressive is Kate.
I'd be very interested to hear what she saw, what kind of review she has on my hot sauce, because I've sent her a bottle.
Oh, yeah.
I saw her at the Paramet, and she was saying, "Are you the guy to talk about you are the guy to talk about the hot sauce?"
Yeah,
which was
funny. Put in a question earlier saying, when will Justin do a hot sauce challenge? It's not going to happen. I tell you that now. having seen you and kind of like thinking, you're absolutely nuts. I know you're doing it for a great cause, and it was a brilliant cause, and well done, by the way.
I know.
But
thanks very much.
Bloody hell, I would not. In terms of the strongest one that you took at the end there. I mean, I could see you just beginning to bead with sweat a little bit whilst you were doing that one.
Thankfully, I didn't do anything else.
Yeah.
I came close a couple of times where I could feel a bit of, I don't know, reflux, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But no, that mean obviously, again, I did that live stream like 2 weeks ago today. So anybody that's watching this tonight, I just want to say massive thanks indeed for that, because we have raised now over £500 for Mind. Unbelievable, it really was, and a well-worthy charity. It really is. It's just what a. I never, when I set the benchmark at £200, never even thought I'd get anywhere near it. And people have just come out and they've donated. It wasn't really about the donations, even though I mentioned it a few times. But it was more about raising the awareness, and it was just awfully fantastic. Over £505 or £503, whatever it is there now. Unbelievable. Thank you so much, people. Really do. Thank you.
It was awesome, actually. Seeing the response from people was brilliant, actually. It was so lovely to see that. And we don't. And the nice thing is, we should kind of promote that more, because there are people out there in the paranormal world doing good things. It's nice to kind of highlight that sometimes, because we get a lot of negativity in this field.
Yeah, definitely. Well, folks, thanks very much for coming. It's been an absolutely fantastic night. Huge thanks to Justin. And again, don't forget his podcast coming up. Links in the description down below as well. So if it doesn't work for whatever reason, hit me up, and I'll quite happily link the description to you, because it'll be a well worthy podcast viewing, that's for sure.
Yeah, thank you guys. And like I said, any kind of support, like I say, it's a brand new channel, so any kind of support would be really, genuinely, completely heartfelt appreciated. So thank you.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, folks, I shall bid you good night and thanks very much. See
Thanks,
you soon.
guys.